The night air in Mikako carried whispers of forgotten grudges, a low hum of a community that had learned to endure betrayal in silence. Yet, for one woman, silence was no longer an option. Her name was Nneka, a woman whose kindness had once been mistaken for weakness. She was known in her neighborhood for helping the sick, sharing food with the hungry, and offering a listening ear to the broken. But kindness has limits, and when those limits are pushed, even the gentlest soul can turn into a storm. Years earlier, Nneka had trusted her longtime fiancé, Ifeanyi, with everything: her secrets, her business, her savings, even her heart. Ifeanyi was a man who could charm with words and win trust with his smile. He convinced Nneka to invest her life savings in a joint fish farming project that promised wealth for both of them. She believed him, signed documents she barely read, and handed over her money. But within months, the truth unraveled. Ifeanyi had transferred the property to his name, withdrawn all the funds, and vanished from her life, leaving her with debts and disgrace. Nneka lost her small house, her reputation, and her peace of mind. Her neighbors whispered that she had been foolish, that she deserved it for trusting too easily. She wept bitterly, not just for the loss of money, but for the betrayal of someone she had loved with all her heart. 4 years, she struggled to rebuild her life, starting again by selling smoked fish by the roadside. Slowly, she grew stronger, sharper, and more determined. She never forgot the wound Ifeanyi had carved into her soul, but instead of letting it destroy her, she fed it like a hidden fire. Revenge, she decided, would be her medicine. When she heard, years later, that Ifeanyi had returned to Lagos as a wealthy businessman, parading his mansion and expensive cars, Nneka's fire burned hotter. He was throwing lavish parties, donating to churches, and building a name as a philanthropist. The world saw him as a success story, but Nneka knew the truth: he was a thief who built his empire on betrayal. And she swore she would bring him down in a way he would never recover from. Nneka began her revenge not with violence, but with patience. She studied him quietly, attending events where he appeared, mingling with people in his circle, always unnoticed. She discovered that Ifeanyi had one weakness greater than money: a hunger for recognition. He craved admiration, the applause of the crowd, the image of a perfect man. She would use that against him. She created a small organization called Joint Hope Foundation, focused on women's empowerment and child welfare. With time, she attracted sponsors, donors, and volunteers. Her sincerity drew people in, and soon, her foundation began to shine. Ifeanyi, ever hungry for visibility, noticed her work and approached her with an offer to sponsor her programs. He didn't recognize her immediately. Time and hardship had carved Nneka's face into something leaner, wiser, harder. She welcomed him with a polite smile, hiding the storm within. Together, they organized fundraisers, community projects, and charity drives. He poured money into her foundation, not from kindness, but because the media followed her now, and he wanted the spotlight. Nneka documented everything: his fake donations, the illegal funds he laundered through her platform, the contracts he forced small businesses to sign. Quietly, she collected every receipt, every signature, every voice recording. She fed his greed, encouraged his pride, until he was drowning in his own corruption. The day of reckoning came during the foundation's grand charity gala, attended by politicians, celebrities, and journalists. Cameras flashed, music played, and Ifeanyi, dressed in his expensive agbada, walked proudly to the stage to announce his biggest donation yet. As he smiled at the crowd, Nneka stepped forward. She took the microphone, her voice calm, her eyes sharp as blades. "Tonight," she said, "we celebrate generosity, but we must also confront truth. For too long, this city has applauded a man who wears the mask of a giver while stealing from the innocent." Gasps filled the hall. She signaled to the screen behind her, where documents, audio recordings, and video clips began to play, evidence of Ifeanyi's fraud, theft, and betrayal of business partners. His face drained of color as the crowd turned from admiration to horror. Journalists swarmed. Cameras zoomed in. Whispers grew into shouts. Fraudster. Liar. His allies abandoned him. His sponsors withdrew instantly. Security escorted him away as Nneka stood tall, her heart pounding but steady. She had not only ruined him in front of the world, she had done it on the same stage he loved most, public admiration. Weeks later, Ifeanyi was arrested and stripped of his assets. His name was dragged through every newspaper, his reputation shattered beyond repair. Meanwhile, Nneka's foundation flourished. She had turned her pain into strength, her betrayal into justice. And when people asked her how she had done it, she simply smiled and said, "Revenge is sweetest when it teaches the world a lesson. Mine was necessary."
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed telling it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. Don't miss our next adventure.